Well, it's been a couple months, but we are back for a Season 2, and we've renewed our contract with our overlords. It's time for Season 2 of 810, the PretendRaceCars.net podcast. I'm James, that over there is Chris, and, oh man, let's get right into it because there's so much to talk about, and we actually have content for another season. Wow. Anyway, Chris, a couple weeks back, we wrote an article, all five of us actually sat down for a couple days and dicked around with iRacing's street stock with, there was some sort of PR promo code, whatever, for a free trial iRacing account, and we all got on it to run the street stocks, and it was a mixed bag, and we sat down, wrote a 200, or I'm gonna mess up the number here, a 2,500 word article, just talking about the street stock, and within a day, they'd IP banned me, and we had all kinds of shit thrown at us, from lies about being banned to crazy vendettas and a whole bunch of crap. And I mean, I got to say my piece on it just because I had time to, but we never really got your thoughts. So that whole kerfuffle, going from running a week of street stocks to writing an article that took about a day to write, to the initial reactions, to the fallout, to all the crazy stuff that happened afterwards. How do you think iRacing handled that? And just give us the rundown from your point of view. Like, how did this all start?
I think we should start off by saying and clarifying something, that it's not against the rules to have multiple accounts, so long as you're not evading a ban. And that's been pretty standard for like quite some time. I remember there were people that used to be on TeamSpeak with us, on another TeamSpeak, that had multiple accounts and would race trucks like under two different names. Just there was like a middle name. One had like his middle name reversed with his preferred, his main number one name. I feel really stupid that there should be some way to better describe that. He had his middle name and his name reversed. But anyway, yeah, and what was pretty funny is that we're actually all more or less agreeing that, slightly out of having nothing to do and slightly out of because it actually did get somewhat better, I'm actually a little surprised, because we were actually saying, hey, maybe this is worth your time to try if you haven't, or try again, because a lot of the things that they've done with the physics are significantly better than they were, like, I would say 6 months to a year ago. There's a lot of decent stuff going on. Like, I'm actually pretty interested in what they've got coming with the surface model. I don't see why it couldn't be awesome. I mean, we'll wait and see. But what I don't understand is that it just wasn't. I feel like nobody even sat down and said, "Hey, maybe you should try this." Hey, maybe we should read this rather and see what we're actually saying. And
yeah, it was one of those deals where my name got attached to it, and all of a sudden it's like, oh no, that goes out the window, you know? Because we sat down with this for a long time before writing that article. It wasn't just a one-day thing. It was like we played it for about a week to 2 weeks straight, just running races under alt accounts all night when we'd come home, right? And then it's like, okay, let's do a piece on it, you know?
What's pretty sad is that, like I said, we were actually like, okay, this is not nearly as crappy as it once was, or at least was a couple of months ago, and it made me go actually spend the money to re-up for an entire year for my primary account. Please don't ban it, please. And yeah, it's just like, it's pretty shocking to me. I mean, without spending too much time on it, I would say that the road cars feel about as good as they felt maybe ever, and there's a lot of decent stuff that's like in there. It's not getting too far off of the feel of other sims, like sims that do physics better, like GameStop Car, like Assetto Corsa, even R Factor 2. Like, it actually is starting to feel somewhat like a vehicle that comes from planet Earth, which is something that we've said they weren't doing for quite some time.
Now, as a community member, you come on to PretendRaceCars.net and you go in the comment section of some of the articles that we had to run, you know, afterwards to say that, hey, I got IP banned, and then the comments that came afterwards and stuff like that, and then having to write another article just debunking the stuff guys are saying. As a third party whose name wasn't involved, and they weren't chasing after you with pitchforks like they were doing with me. You know, some of the stuff got out of hand in the comments. What does that, you know, how does it make you feel just as a third party, just seeing the kind of stuff where it wasn't even talking about what was in the article? Because we went over the aero package, we went over how the tires behaved, we went over how the car behaved on 2 different tracks, and the stuff in the comments didn't even discuss that. It was just like attacks, like you're telling me ad hominem attacks. So how does that, when you see that as a third party, how does that make you feel?
Well, what it makes me feel, and it sort of reaffirms what I know, is that this community is literally its own worst enemy. We'll get into it more with another topic, but they literally, we've prided ourselves on being not the Call of Duty crowd, not that kind of, like, you know, you're a faggot or like stooping down to that level, but literally every single person who disagrees with you has to just basically use, you know, pretty much ad hominem, straw man style attacks, because, you know, rather than disproving anything that you said, they were like, oh, it's you, so screw what you have to say and see you later. Alright, so I guess we could get off this just a little tiny bit. We got, over the last couple of weeks, the opportunity to see Stefano code some stuff into Assetto Corsa live on YouTube, which is pretty awesome, pretty transparent, pretty, I'd say, groundbreaking. I don't think we've ever seen anybody do something like that, give you complete access and show you how, like, they do stuff, arrive at decisions, decide if something's worth having, not having, if there's a problem, what are we going to do to fix it. You know, I got to watch a little bit of the one from last night, and they showed some of the things that they're doing with AI, which is something I literally have no use for or care for, but there's a great deal of people who do, and what I think is pretty interesting is that Stefano sat there for a long time thinking and figuring out all different sorts of things to make the AI behave more like a real car would, and I'm just looking for your opinions on what could we potentially see down the road with some of the things that we learned from this little live stream slash dev blog kind of deal. You know, we've seen that there might be some sort of online ranking system similar to iRacing, but it's going to require third-party support. However, they left all the functionality and tools, you know, pretty much available for you to do. What do you think about it?
Well, there's 2 schools of thought I have on this whole the live stream of the coding sessions thing, and there's my personal opinion, which it'll piss everybody off, and then there's objectively what it means for kind of a game of this caliber. My personal opinion is that I don't care to be friends with the devs. I don't really care what goes on behind the scenes. I just want a game. You know, like to me, this is kind of like I was playing through NFL Street the other day, and in like the inside EA Sports section, there's like a 5-minute video of just like, hey, here's what goes on behind the scenes at EA, LOL. So that's how I feel that these kind of YouTube live stream sessions are. And again, that's my personal opinion. But objectively, it's actually really neat because people are actually able to see what goes into making a game. People get to see, like you said, why decisions get made, why compromises get made. And at the end of the day, if you do sift through what he's done with the live stream sessions for Assetto Corsa, there's actually some really neat nuggets of information. The first one, like you said, like you touched on, is the implementation of a log file that essentially records incidents like an iRacing type simulation, where it records, okay, if some dude went off the track or if there's been car-to-car contact. And what that does is AC isn't going to implement an iRacing like ranking feature anytime soon. They're not interested in that. They've said, like, we're going to leave it to the third-party guys. But what something like this allows, and we've touched on this in another article, is that it allows third-party mod teams like RSR Live Timing to sit down and go, okay, we're gonna make our own program to use this log file. And in that situation, it's going to make for maybe 6 months to a year, we'll have like an iRacing type deal for Assetto Corsa, but it'll be like an app you download like RSR Live Timing, and maybe there's dedicated servers for it where you have a password and there's certain rooms for certain cars at certain tracks. It sets up something that is what the sim community needs, because we don't have pickup racing like you'd see in Dirt, where you can just jump in a room with 5 other guys and go. Like, this is proven that we need scheduled start times. We need a ranking system because dudes love waving their dicks around for whatever reason. So this is a step in the right direction. Being able to see that through a coding session. Again, I don't care to be friends with the devs or feel like I'm watching something, innovative or whatever. But objectively, it's actually really neat that they're doing things this way because it lets them work while interacting with the community. And again, it's smart. It's not something I like, but it's smart. Another nugget of information that came out, and we just learned about this, or I just learned about this 10 minutes before we started recording this. Zandvoort, the former host of the Dutch Grand Prix, I think it was, that's coming to Assetto Corsa as free content. And again, this was a little nugget dropped at the end of the latest, latest live stream. And we found out that, yeah, it's coming to AC for free, but, and this is huge asterisk, bolded, underlined, size 36 font, so you can increase the length of your essay for your teacher. It's not going to be laser scanned. And up until this point, every modern track for AC has been laser scanned, and that's pissed off the community. Threads exploded. I'm getting hits from everywhere saying, hey, you gotta check out this thread. It's going nuts. People are freaking at each other. Oh my god, Kunos dropped the ball. It's not a laser scan track. What are they doing? I'm gonna defend them, and people have already asked me, like, how come you're not shitting on them for this? Look, we're at the point where 3D modeling is an art form now. It's not like it was in '05 when R Factor first came out, where there was a big difference in quality between guys who knew their shit and scrubs. For example, I'll use R3E. I don't think any tracks in R3E are laser scanned, and you wouldn't know it. I mean, we went to Infineon, or it's called Sears Point now. We went to Infineon in the GT3 cars, and it's like, oh damn, this is really good. And I think it's gonna be that same way with Kunos once people get their hands on the new Zandvoort Grand Prix, because people are going to go there and they're going to think, oh, it's not laser scan, I'm pissed off, and they're going to drive a couple laps of the track and be like, oh, this is actually really good. I think that's what's going to happen. So I guess, like you touched on earlier, in terms of community, it kind of shows how shitty the community is because, A, you're getting a track for free, B, it's 2015 and your average 3D modeler is pretty damn good. You're not going to be able to tell the difference between what's laser scan and what's not, and it's what's going to happen. It'll just be pages upon pages of, oh, like, this isn't too bad, we got our panties in a twist for nothing. What else do we learn?
It's pretty bad, in my opinion, when you're being handed something for free to, like, be like, oh, I can't take that. I mean, if you want to start getting crazy, iRacing sent out a questionnaire about a month ago. And part of the questionnaire was, would you like to see non-laser scanned fantasy tracks in it? And in their forums, there were quite a bit of people who were not opposed to it. And I mean, at a certain point, why would you be opposed to it? There's a big difference between a dev making, content, and there's a big difference between somebody who's just starting out or ripping, an R Factor 1 track, and it doesn't run on a powerful computer because all the levels of details are screwed up and the grass looks like crap. No, I mean, this is a big developer who made a decision, probably because, nobody gets this. Not everybody gets to get crowdfunded and drive a Ferrari, but, some of these guys got to make a decision. Do we spend $100,000 to get the laser scanning equipment there, scan it, and then all the man hours that go into that? Or can we maybe there's another avenue? Is there CAD data? Is there somebody else who has a scan? Because at that point, I don't think anybody really realizes, and it's not even Kunos, it's other developers too, who aren't huge. But, these dudes also, what they decide, what they do, that might be dinner or not dinner. I would imagine that's a lot of the decisions that go on at R3E, that go on at AC, that go on at Riza. I think those guys have to make a lot of compromises like that because it directly affects their livelihood. Now, again, it's free. This community is supposed to, they're supposed to pride themselves on being, more mature than the Call of Duty crowd, but this is like Call of Duty level, shit slinging over nothing.
I could see the point if it was 2008, and there is a huge difference between laser scanning and just kind of doing it by hand. But it's 2015, and I mean, no one cried that Monza 66 wasn't laser scanned. You had no one saying, how come they hadn't found a time traveling machine to go back and scan it on the weekend of the Italian GP? No, it's people got it and they're like, oh damn, this Monza 66 is like really nice. And I think the same thing again, like I said, same thing's gonna happen with Zandvoort. People are gonna get it and be like, oh, why'd we bitch about this? Like, mark my words, it's gonna happen.
Oh, I'm sure. And to me, I think all the telling you need to do too is that you didn't want to start a controversy over it, which is like telling in and of itself. But I mean, Jesus, it's pretty bad. I mean, like here's a change log with all sorts of good stuff in it. There's stuff like they spoke about in one of the videos how they think it's time to address one of my problems, which is there's no brake fade. And I know you're going to say, oh, but my modern race cars, they have my big carbon ceramic discs. But yeah, you can't lay on them threshold for 15 laps straight and there not be some sort of difference in them from lap 1 and all the way to lap 15. I mean, and it's a little iRacing related now, but there's the big problem with iRacing on the oval sides, other than there's hardly 2 grooves, and the physics aren't quite there, but they're getting better. Problem is that you go to a short track like there was this week at Gateway, and you can go threshold brake into turns 1 and 3 every single lap for 50 straight laps. And I could guarantee you that if you did that for more than 4 consecutive laps in a truck in real life, you'll have no brakes, even if the brake fans are on.
Well, onto our next point, and has nothing to do with brakes, but it'll ruffle a bit of your feathers. Game Stock Car Extreme is going to get unlicensed V8 Supercars. Now, you're not an ISI. You don't like the ISI sims. You can't get into them. They're good, but they're dated. You much rather prefer the Assetto Corsas, the R3Es, the modern stuff. But now it's getting a car that will probably be the best representation of a V8 supercar in any racing sim to date. Is this going to make you deal once and for all with the gMotor engine by putting V8 supercars into that sim?
It's gonna make me deal with it, absolutely. But here's my thing, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. Until I could load up Game Stock Car and not have to go into my profiler and take it off at 900 degrees, then I'll be happy. Because we're talking about a modern sim here, and I think the developers have already admitted themselves that that's something that they've got to do. But I mean, just to me, that's in 2015 not acceptable. Now, do I like Game Stock Car? I think it's good. I just don't get the amazing feeling that I have to do this feeling that I get when I play Assetto Corsa or when I oval race on iRacing. But it's good. I mean, I'm definitely going to go and give it a go. I mean, they've arguably got one of the more above average sims on the market. And there's no reason for... I mean, I love V8 Supercar Racing. I've got the Super View. I follow it from the other side of the world. So I'm all on board. I can't wait to give it a go.
When we first got into Game Stock Car Extreme a couple, maybe months ago now, time's kind of flying by, what was one thing you liked and one thing you didn't like?
Number one thing I didn't like, force feedback wasn't as good as everybody claimed it was. And the other thing, too, is my wheel, 100%. I mean, I don't like having to go screw with the profile, or when every other game I could just load up. I mean, that's probably just me being stubborn more so than anything, but to me, that's something that's gotta be working, get ready to go out of the box. What I did like about it, brakes matter. Having brake heat, proper brake heat. There's a difference between cold brakes, hot brakes, too hot brakes. There's a lot of stuff that you'd have to take into consideration. Off the top of my head, I can't remember if you could do brake tape on Game Stock Car, but I know on R Factor you can.
Yeah, it's brake duct size, I think.
Yeah, so there's all sorts of decisions that the brakes are probably. It's a little surprising that no other sims tried to tackle this yet, but I mean, I think it's just so important and it's such a big thing that iRacing and Assetto Corsa are missing. I mean, iRacing has, well, if you get the brakes too hot, you'll increase the air pressure in your tires. Yeah, that's all well and good, but like I said, you could still threshold brake for 50 straight laps at a short track, and I could almost promise you, if you did that in a 3,400 pound stock car, you'll have problems sooner rather than later. Let's move on, finish up with this little topic now. What do you think we have in store for the future with the 50 cents that we've made off of all of our advertising, the one advertisement, and the fact that we've been literally banned and blocked from about every single other website for reasons that mostly James's fault, but still pretty childish. It still hasn't stopped people from coming here, and this sounds like we're being cocky, but in all honesty, we really don't care. We think it's funny. We're literally both sitting here in our underwear talking on TeamSpeak racing games. So you tell me, what do you think we're going to do? What's the future?
Well, it's like the past weekend alone, we had more people visiting PretendRaceCars.net and more unique IPs and more overall hits than people attending the IHRA race in Edmonton this weekend. And this hasn't just happened one time. I think the weekend of the MAV TV 500 in California, we had more people visiting Pretend Race Cars than people went to the IndyCar race. And I just want you to think about that somehow we pulled that off after being blacklisted and shit, but to 2, 3, 4 different sites. I mean, you can't link to us on Race Department because it word filters us. You can't link to us on anything Project Cars related. It word filters you again. Reddit, anytime you submit a post with our site, it has to go through moderation first, and it just goes on and on. So obviously you have to look to the future, because even after being blacklisted on a bunch of different sites, the stats are just going up. And I mean, people will claim, "Oh, you're getting bot views and shit like that," and it's like, no, we're not. Like, we get notifications when there's a spam comments or stuff like that, and it's surprisingly low. So like I said, we do have to look towards the future. And there's really two ways we can go about this, and it's more or less picking the lesser of the two evils. And there will be a dedicated post on this later tonight. But the first way that we could go with the site is we could do message boards, like a Race Department type thing, or I don't think Virtual R has it, but like Inside Sim Racing has their own forums. I think VVV has their own forums, and we could go that route. My main issue is that you start to have to pay way more attention to what we need to do. I mean, me and Chris both have full-time jobs and shit, so the last thing we want to do is be glued to our phones, looking at internet drama, and message boards kind of invite that, because A, you have people calling each other faggots and they get pissed off at each other and want people banned, and then B, you have to find moderators who are just as unbiased as we are, and we can't do that because that's tough. Okay, anyone who's run a forum in the past knows that you don't just find unbiased moderators sitting there, in a circle going, "Hey, can I have a job?" You always end up running into people who are just complete fucking assholes. So that's the problem with the forum. The second way that we could grow the site, and this makes me look like a hypocrite, and I hate it, but it's unfortunately what people are doing nowadays, is some sort of monetary aspect to it. And what I mean by that is, Race Department has their premium membership for like $10. Team VVV has like a Patreon account where you can just donate and you can get perks based on membership tier. And as much as I hate it, as much as I think it's fucking stupid, and for narcissistic teenage YouTube personalities, some sort of monetary thing might be the way to go, because sim racers like spending money on shit by default. And I think we might have to incorporate some sort of monetary aspect to the site, because A, this is what everyone else is doing, and B, people don't actually mind doing that. I mean, people are, spending 10 grand to go have dinner with Ian Bell. What's $10 to donate to the site, And again, working out all the details to that, I'll have to sit down and really hit my brain a few times. I don't know, Chris, what do you think we should do?
Well, I mean, we're certainly not begging for money. I mean, but at some point, it's like, everybody has to make some sort of decision, and I mean, I've got to be honest, I'm going to be back in school in less than 3 months, and it's going to get to the point where I don't know how I'm going to pay for my video. And like I said, I'm certainly not going to beg, but if somebody actually clicked the ad and bought something that we have on the site, that might help. But what I would like to do, and what I'm certainly going to do in the next couple of weeks, is start doing some sort of, videos from actual racing, actual games with some sort of commentary. And it's not even to rip off of Empty Box, because there's plenty of people who do it, and it's not even going to be like that. It's just like, just going to be like having some fun. We'll put it up on the page here where the podcast is, and maybe see if we can't get a couple of hits from that. I mean, there's just tons of different things that we could do, and I mean, what I don't think people really understand is that a lot of the times we're just telling the truth, but the truth also happens to be, well, this sounds wrong, but our opinion is usually, when we usually say something, it's usually the truth. So, we're saying how it is. It's not really our opinion so much as it's like, well, this is what I see, and this is what I'm telling you, And I don't think we've been very wrong on many different things, I mean, I think we've hit a lot of it pretty much spot on. We've had more people, more important people than you probably think, tell us as much. There's actually, we've been actually working actively to get deals to where we can review products, in a proper manner. I'd like to think that, at some point, maybe you guys would like to have a discussion with us that doesn't result in you saying that, oh, you guys are just clickbaiting, when in reality we never posted one of those articles this weekend anywhere, because we actually can't, which is, so, just think about that for a second. You guys are looking for clickbait. Well, I can tell you for a fact that that's not possible.
It'll be interesting though, because a site like this, again, it's the truth. A lot of what we post is just how it is, and I think we can get away with it because we're two personalities where our reputations can't go any lower. Like, there's enough people who are like, "Fuck that asshole! I raced with him 2 years ago, and he was an asshole to me on track." There's enough people who think of us in that way, where it's like, what does it matter if we just call a game out for being buggy? Because people already hate us.
And that's the other thing too. Is it's like what I don't think people understand is that we both have a different opinion. I don't agree with everything that he says, and I'm sure the same thing too. Like he's not in love with Assetto Corsa like I am, but I see like every so often somebody has to remind us how we both are Assetto Corsa shills. So take it for what it's worth. I'm sure somebody's going to put in the comment section, "Oh, you guys are just looking for sympathy or something." No, I mean, I really don't care. And I think we've said that before in the past, that we really don't care. That's pretty much the best way to put it. We don't care. We've been playing racing games for a long friggin' time, and we've been playing video games in general to not really care if you're mad or you're happy, whatever you think. At some point we're just like, we want to have fun, which is why we did iRacing again and why I'm still doing it. Austin can't because he got banned. Please, please don't ban me. I spent a lot of money on my account. But the point is that we just want to play games, and what we did from the beginning before we did this, we just said what we think about this. That's pretty much the way it is. And when I say oh, we want money, well, no, we don't really want money, but like I said, we would like to give you guys something more proper. We've been working, we've had some contacts with industry people where we're trying to get more of a proper feel to things, where we could sit down and we could say, hey, here's X product. We're going to tell you what we think about it, and what we'd like to do, which would hopefully be different than other places like Inside iRacing, we would like to actually say if we think it's good or not. We'd like to actually say, well, hey, this is a hunk of crap, and I think we've done that with software pretty well. Maybe it's hardware, maybe it's other software that we don't have. We'll see. And I like how we actively call Inside Sim Racing Inside iRacing, but Darren comes to our website and says that he's down for a League of Champions with us.
Well, I think on that note, we'll end episode 1 of season 2, the 810 PretendRaceCars.net podcast. Oh man, it's getting late. Until next time, I'm James. That over there is Chris, and we'll see you next time.